Put my speaker on here. Good to see everyone here today. I would like to go ahead and call to the meeting to order. The Texas Government Code permits this Board of Trustees to meet in a closed executive session for the following reasons, among others: to consult with the college district's attorneys on matters deemed privileged by the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct or Government Code 551.071, to deliberate regarding real property under 551.072, a prospective gift under 551.073, certain personnel matters under 551.074, security devices or security audits under 551.076, and economic development negotiations under 551.087. If the board meets in closed session, we will announce the particular section under which we will be doing so prior to initiating the closed portion of the meeting. Okay, we will move on to our invocation and pledge today. We have Mr. Thomas Trout. Thomas is beginning his second year at Blinn as a member of the Texas A&M Engineering Academy on the Brenham campus. He graduated from Seven Lakes High School in Katy, where he was a member of the Civil Air Patrol and earned the rank of Cadet Staff Sergeant before leaving to fly gliders at the Soaring Club of Houston. He is also an active member of his local Lutheran church. Excuse me. Thomas plans to transition to Texas A&M next fall to study civil engineering, and he hopes to build a career as a project manager for water resource, water quality, and pollution control projects. You're going to be busy, I'm thinking. We've got a lot of those issues. Thomas, thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect the students, staff, faculty, alumni, and friends of Blinn College. And continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Thomas. Thomas had to pull double duty today, so we appreciate you being here. And good luck to you. Okay, on to item 3 on the agenda, public comment. We do have one individual that signed up for public comment, Miss Rebecca Reyes with the Blinn Staff Council.
Good morning, Chair Colcourse, trustees, Dr. Hensley. Thank you for allowing me and my colleagues the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Rebecca Reyes, and I am currently the acting president of Staff Council. I'm joined here today by some of my fellow officers. We have Mr. Brian Carlisle, Staff Council Treasurer, Officer Alex Tran, Staff Council Secretary, and of course, Dr. John Rice, past president of Staff Council and a great mentor to us all. Okay, well, most of my career in higher education has been spent at Blinn College. I was hired as a financial aid assistant in 2016 at the ripe old age of 24 upon returning to Bryan College Station. I lived at the time in a tiny one-bedroom apartment about 10 minutes from the Tejas Center and felt very uncertain about whether higher education was a long-term career venture for me. Now, I am 32, I work in academic affairs, and live with my family in a beautiful home in Bryan. And that uncertainty has diminished. And I believe that was made possible by Blinn College. Blinn College Staff Council and the folks we represent come from all walks of life. Each has chosen Blinn College as their place of employment for a variety of reasons. However, the common thread is their commitment to the college's mission of building stronger communities. This mission rests in the capable hands of incredible people. Some of those people have worn a badge in their previous career and see Blinn College as the next community they will protect and serve. Some are members of the United States Armed Forces and devote several weeks out of the year to answering the call of duty. Others are published science fiction authors, marathon runners, former college athletes, artists, and superhumans in their own special way. Why am I saying this? Well, I share this with you all so you are reminded of the importance and impact of this administration's decision to implement a tiered longevity pay system in addition to 4% salary increases for full-time staff this year. Trustees, I know you are no strangers to the fact that our chancellor, Dr. Mary Hensley, made sacrifices of her own to make this possible. So, for that reason, Staff Council would like to recognize Dr. Hensley for her continued support of staff and their families. we hope that you will accept this token of our gratitude and appreciation for your selfless service to the Blinn College District. If service is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. By demonstrating this principle in her decision-making, Dr. Hensley has set an example for staff who, without being asked twice, will then look for ways to serve this community. Last fall, for example, Staff Council donated over 300 pounds of goods to the Brazos Valley Food Bank in time for Thanksgiving. Mobilized by the support and generosity of this administration, I cannot wait to see what we achieve this year. Thank you, Dr. Hensley.
Thank you. Rebecca, thank you all, and Staff Council. May I ask a personal privilege of the board if I could step forward with some of the representatives from Staff Council and take a picture with him?
Absolutely.
And 1, 2, 3. And just one more time. 1, 2, 3.
Very good. We will now move on to the report section of the meeting, and we will start with the Chancellor's Administrative Report.
Well, my morning has started off lovely. I hope yours has. Truly, members of the Staff Council, that was so unexpected and such a surprise and so genuinely kind of you, and it went straight to my heart. Thank you so very much, and I hope that you will extend my appreciation to all members of Staff Council. Thank you again. Trustees, I'd like to go ahead and begin with our facilities report, if I might, and direct your attention to the PowerPoint in front of you. Well, we're making progress at the Bryan Campus Administration Building. The site utilities are nearing completion, and the installation of drywall and ceiling grids has been finalized. The contractors currently are installing mechanical systems, electrical components, light fixtures, and plumbing. The painting of the walls and the ceilings also is underway. The exterior work is progressing, including preparation of the site for the new monument sign. Additionally, the intramural field grading and irrigation layout is complete. Trustees, this project does remain on schedule and under budget for occupancy this coming February of 2025. I encourage you to drive by on Villa Maria if you have the opportunity. It's very, very exciting. And perhaps just as you're driving by slowly or step out of your car for a moment, just look at the construction. It's so wonderful to see it being erected. Trustees, I'd like to spend a few minutes with you just reminding you about our quality enhancement plan. As you're aware, Blinn is engaged in our 10-year reaffirmation process with the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges, which includes the development of Blinn's quality enhancement plan. We commonly refer to it as our QEP. Blinn's QEP is titled Horizons, A Pathway to Literacy. It's designed to enhance student success by improving literacy skills in our developmental classes. Now, as you know, trustees, and I've shared with you previously, our site visiting team will be coming in October, and it is extremely likely that they will be interviewing you, perhaps individually, unlikely as a group. And one of the questions that you might anticipate them asking is about your familiarity with our QEP. Do you know what it is? Do you know the name of it? You don't have to have an in-depth understanding of it. People like Max Hibbs and John and all of our instructional deans and April, everybody they'll get the real detailed. But as long as you have a cursory understanding of the initiative, aware that it's been presented to the board and so forth, I think you'll be fine in your interview should they occur. In that regard then, if you will just allow me a moment, I'd like to play a video for you just as a reminder, and I'd like to do that now.
Blinn College District is currently undergoing its reaffirmation of accreditation with its accrediting agency, SAC-COC. And as part of that reaffirmation process, the college is asked to develop a quality enhancement plan, or a QEP. And the initial work was to find an area of student learning or student success that we wanted to address. A common theme that emerged from the focus groups was a concern for academically underprepared students who were coming to the college.
The problem that we identified for this cycle was an issue of literacy across the board. We were seeing an increase in students who were testing not ready for college. This was a trend pre-COVID, and it seems to have amplified after COVID. And really, literacy is sort of a gateway into all of your classes. You're going to need that in order to be successful. So we thought this was a problem that was really worth tackling.
Blinn's QEP, which is labeled Horizons, a Pathway to Literacy, is trying to look at literacy on a much deeper level, looking at it beyond mere decoding into areas of comprehension, and particularly into levels of critical thinking and inferential connections that are necessary not only in English classes and the humanities, but even into math and science courses. So we're looking at what do students really need who are coming in that possibly are deficient in some level of college-level literacy, which may, more than anything, be connected to background knowledge.
Reading is the key to success. And in order for our students to become successful readers, there may be some skills that we as faculty need to have. And so we'll be having internal and external experts sharing their expertise and providing strategies and tools that can help our students succeed. We do have a lot of training going on with our tutors as well, because they're teaching too. They just are teaching in a little bit different format and more in a one-on-one relationship. Our Writing Center tutors have already received instruction on teaching reading skills and comprehension skills to students who come to the writing centers. Our Learning Center staff will be working more as success coaches, and they too will be getting some training on teaching reading within the disciplines in which they're tutoring.
In addition to the support that the students in the developmental mathematics and humanities courses will receive in the classroom, the College District has combined its efforts outside the classroom to support our students. The learning centers, the writing centers, the library, and advising is there with them from the first day that they arrive on campus, and will stay with them throughout their time here on the campus to support them, particularly understanding that some students will arrive on campus a bit resistant to reach out to some of those services. We have made these services not something that only struggling students do, but this is just something that successful college students do.
With Horizons, no matter what path a student takes, it'll be a pathway to literacy.
Oh, that's an excellent video, I think. And I'd like to thank Rich Bray and his marketing team for putting that video together. And trustees, at your dais in front of you today, you have a brochure. This is just a little bit of an overview, a little fact sheet about QEP. And yesterday, I was able to read the complete finalized QEP report. It looks like a master's thesis or a dissertation. It is absolutely wonderful. I told some people with whom I visited that I've read several over the years, and I really believe it was the best QEP I have ever read. It was truly outstanding. Thank you, Marcelo. I see you going in cheers, but it was truly wonderful, and I'm not exaggerating. It was just really, I thought it was outstanding. So I know some of you in the room have been involved in this, almost everybody in the room, because trustees, this has been a college-wide effort at every level, faculty and staff. Full-time, part-time, everyone has been involved in some way or another in the development of the QEP. So I'm just going to ask if you are in this room this morning and you had anything to do with the development over the last couple of years for Blinn's QEP, would you stand up? Come on. No, there are more. Now, I'm looking at some people who didn't stand up, so I made note of that. Okay, Dr. Burton, you can go ahead and be a little delayed, but reaction and enlighten others who didn't stand up. Truly, trustees, this has been a college-wide effort, and I really think it's very commendable that the work that they've done. And if we don't get a compliment on our QEP, I'll be a little surprised, to say the least. All right, well, in our continued mode of celebrations this morning, Blinn has won another award, and I'd like to talk to you about it for just a moment. I'm pleased to announce that Blinn recently was honored with the Texas School Safety Center's statewide Staff Development and Training Award in recognition of our civilian active shooter training team. This team, comprised of Blinn Police Department and emergency management professionals, provides critical training in dynamic active shooter events, tourniquet application, situational awareness, leadership under pressure, and general safety awareness. Now, trustees, as you may recall, the Texas School Safety Center recognized Blinn with the School Safety Spotlight Award last year. Additionally, the Texas Police Chiefs Association recently announced that the Blinn Police Department had achieved accreditation status, which is quite rare to achieve, through the Texas Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. At this time, I would like to invite our wonderful Chief of Police and Emergency Manager, John Chancellor, to come forward to address the board and introduce, if you would, please, Chief Chancellor, the staff and officers who are present today. And then afterwards, we'd like to have another photo opportunity with you all. And as he's just come forward, I would just like to showcase the plaque that they were given for this wonderful statewide award, and we'll include that in the photo in a moment. Chief Chancellor, thank you so much for your leadership and for our wonderful team and our terrific department who do everything they can to put their lives on the line for us every day to make sure that we are safe, and we appreciate you. Chief Chancellor.
Chair Kohler's, trustees, and Dr. Hensley, it's really a privilege to get these awards, but one thing I want to say first, almost 8 years ago, when I first came here as a safety and risk management person, I noticed that one of the biggest liabilities in the college at the time was the police department. And so literally about 3 weeks into it, the current executive vice chancellor at that time asked me if I would be the police chief, and I told him I would take it on an interim basis, and 8 years later, I'm still here. But when you're having fun, it's a nice place to work, and I can't let Rebecca give all the accolades. The reason that we're able to accomplish the things that we've accomplished is because of you all. Dr. Hensley has been so gracious in equipment that we needed, that was really needed badly. When I came here, there were, I think, 2 patrol cars between the 2 main campuses, and they had come from an Indian reservation in Florida and got here, so you know what kind of condition they were in. So we found a lot of things, but one thing you do is when you are leading a department, you find the people that are the outstanding folks. And when I first tasked this CAS team to develop a program that was more than what the state required, there's a thing called CRAZE, and you can go online and take this course. It's about 4 hours long. And I said, there's got to be more to training faculty and staff than a 4-hour course. And so Sergeant Joe Espinosa over here on the end, I'm going to give him credit for a lot of this. He sat down and developed the program. And it's an interactive program. You don't get to sit when you come to our classes, and you get to listen to a little classic rock in the breaks like Creedence Clearwater Revival, that I encouraged him to do those things. But it's a fun course, but it's a serious course of tourniquet application, like Dr. Hensley mentioned, teaching people, you know, one of the things that they say, run, hide, and fight. Well, running doesn't fit everybody, because some folks can't run. hiding for somebody my size under a desk, it don't work real well. So we're teaching you to do your best to defend yourself if you have a situation. And we're teaching you how to blockade doors. We're teaching you how to lock down a building and things like that. And there's a number of faculty and staff that have participated in these courses. And I would invite each one of you to come and attend one. I think you would find it very interesting. But in that, I want to introduce the team. Brian Carlisle, our Director of Safety and Risk Management. Brian takes a big part in this. He has a big background in training. Officer David Spittler, Officer Robert Campbell, and then Sergeant Joe Espinosa. These are the guys that put it all together and do all the hard work. And they do it as an extra event for them. They don't put a lot of time into it, and they're getting ready to break off and start the courses for this semester. So these are the guys that do all the work. So in closing, thank you for your support and all that you do for us.
Well, thank you all so very much, and let's take a photo with well-deserved plaque. Trustees.
All right, I'll count to 3, and 1, 2, 3, and one more time. 1, 2, 3. Perfect, thank you.
Trustees, I've told this story before. You probably have heard it. But my very, very, very first day, the very first morning that I came to Blinn, I went first to Blinn's police department because safety and security is the most important goal that I have wherever I am. And I have shared that repeatedly in every remark that I make in speeches throughout the college, that their safety and security is the most important thing for me, and I think that is for the board as well. When I went over there that morning and I thought, oh my, we have some work to do. And so we have set about a very steady course of increasing personnel, enhancing training, buying needed equipment, storage, all kinds of things. And I think that's why you're seeing the opportunity for me and for Chief Chancellor to come forward and to share statewide awards. These are rare. It's very unusual for community colleges to win these awards, especially the accreditation award. I think there are only 3 in the state of Texas that have that award. So we will continue to invest in whatever it takes to ensure the safety and security of our faculty and our staff and our students. And on behalf of all of us at Blinn College, we are immensely grateful for all that you do for us. Thank you so very much. Trustees, with this concludes my kind of joyful presentation this morning. It's been fun. Thank you, Staff Council, again. Thank you all. And at this time, I'll return the podium to Chair Colkhorst.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hensley. We will now move on to the presentation of the financial statement package for the period ended August 31st, 2024. I think Dr. Burton is going to present that to us.
Yes, sir. Okay, here we go. This is the financial package as of August 31st, 2024, 100%. Now, these numbers aren't complete because they're still adjusting entries that the auditor requires and that we have to do to clean them up, but it gives a pretty complete picture of where we are. Again, this presentation, as the previous ones, will talk about unrestricted cash and cash equivalents, revenues, expenditures, financial results, and then observations. Looking at the cash chart, we have $118 million, 5 months in the lockbox of $42.5 million, 9.6 available for facilities, renovations, and repairs. We have $15 million available for new projects, and then currently we have budgeted $50 million for 3 main projects, and we'll talk about that in a second. Those 3 main projects are the Wallace campus purchase, which is up to $29 million, or roughly $30 million. The Bryant Administration Building, which we budgeted 28, we're now down to 13 million. We've been spending on that. And then now we've added the Brenham Chiller project, which is about 6.8 million. So it'll be interesting to see where we land on this once these projects are complete. But none of these projects are going over budget from what we've seen. Looking forward to our cash inflows, student cash and refunds totaled $10.4 million. Cash received from other sources, including interest, was $746,000. If you notice, the lion's share of that was interest at $550,000. Our outflows were payroll of $5.6 million, accounts payable, some construction and R&R that was completed over the summer, the Bug Book program, and Servitas housing is 12.8 outflows. So looking at the previous 3 slides, the 10.4, the 746,000, and the 12.7, we had a net decrease of 1.6 million, but we still have a healthy cash balance, and so we were able to purchase some CDs and put money into our investment pools. Revenues. As you can see from the statement, we budgeted $126 million in revenues, but received $135 million. Where that came from was the additional state appropriation and mostly the interest revenue that we received. Comparing this year to last year, you can see that the state revenues were up roughly $7 million, and that the interest was up about $2.5 million. Looking at our revenue sources as a percentage, state appropriations has gone up as a percentage of our revenues, and tuition and fees have decreased as the state appropriation increased. Looking at our budget here, state appropriation, again, that was over what we budgeted because of the additional funding for House Bill 8. Our tuition and fees was above where we were last year, and we're very close with where we budgeted, and then there's additional adjustments to come. Looking at tuition, this was kind of discussed at one of our earlier meetings. Out of district is the lion's share of the money we bring in, and the in district is a very small amount. Fee revenue, the general fee is the largest source of our fee revenue, and it is increasing. Our housing and food service budget, if you'll notice on some of our other slides, that our food service is now at record revenue compared to for the last 5 years. And then housing has gone down, but that's to be expected as we transition over to the P3s. In the expenditures, our salaries and benefits were up $6 million, but that was budgeted. So our expenses are up by $7.9 million, but this was all within the budget. Looking at our sources, Blinn, the primary source of Blinn spending is on payroll expense, payroll and benefits. As you can see, debt service went down this year, but that's going to be an anomaly for the years coming because we paid off a bond and we're not going to have any more to pay off for a while. Salary and benefits, relatively big pictures, very stable as a percentage of allocation. Operating expenses, instruction expense went up. Our financial results, looking at the summary. Blinn received $135 million in revenue and spent $119 million out of operating for a $16 million surplus. Looking at in aggregate, we were up 16 million. Last year, we were up 10 million compared to budget. And so we've increased compared to budget by 5.6 million. Observations. Blinn is in very good financial shape. We have ample cash. Our revenues are over budget. Our expenses are under budget. We are able to fund capital projects that are currently ongoing. Are there any questions? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a better idea this year of what the state appropriations will be?
Mr. Chairman, I'll take that one if you would like me to. Maybe Dr. Burton wants me to. Maybe that's the better answer. Trustee Ehlert, thank you for that question. Trustees, as you know, we originally were given a $4.4 million reduction in state funding by the new funding models. We worked with the coordinating board on two different items. The first one was our co-enrollment funding. There were some miscategorizations of co-enrolled students. So after working with the coordinating board, they have given us an additional $1.2 million on the co-enrollment. So now we're down to the $3.2 million. That is with our transfer numbers. We have identified some anomalies in the definitions that the coordinating board is using for transfer numbers, specifically what's called FTIC, first time in college students. For some reason, there's been a siphoning of some of our transfer students based on FTIC status. Technically, you do not have to be an FTIC to be a transfer student. So we've identified the problem in the coordinating board formula and methodology. We continue to work with them. I talk with the coordinating board almost every week on this, and we're confident that now that we've identified the problem, we'll be able to zero in, and that would be that $3.2 million difference. So all going well. We've identified the problem on the transfers, and I'm hoping to have that wrapped up very soon with the coordinating board.
And just to add, that is unbudgeted money. Any money that Blinn is able to pull back is going towards our reserves right now. So.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, thanks, Dr. Burton. Appreciate it. Okay, on to the preliminary institutional enrollment report for fall 2024 semester. Dr. McBride.
Good morning, Chancellor, Mr. Chair, members of the board. It's my pleasure this morning to talk about our preliminary fall 24 numbers. I would like to say thank you for your support and guidance as we go through and talk about increasing our numbers this year. As you can see on this slide, trustees, we're currently at the beginning of the 5th week. It's gone by pretty fast for me. I don't know about all of you, but 5th week of classes already. And we ended our first 4 weeks last week. So we have 4 terms that have not begun yet, and we're continuing to enroll students in those courses. So we have ongoing communication with students to help them onboard and get them to start their classes with us this semester. On the slide, trustees, this is a visual for the various parts of term, and you can see by the red line where we are year to date. So the first 4 weeks, the first 8 weeks, and the 16 weeks have already begun. And of course, the first 4 weeks I said had ended as well. The second 4 weeks just started last Friday, the 13th of September. The 12 weeks begin September 23rd, and the third and fourth 4 weeks, and the second 8 weeks begin later this term, with the second 8 weeks starting on October 21st. So we're still onboarding students for those semesters. On this slide, trustees, you can see in the beautiful Blinn blue, the largest part of the pie chart, the 16-week courses that we're offering. So 62% of our courses this fall are in that format. And you can see that 18% in the top left there in the darker navy blue color, that's the second 8 weeks that have not yet begun to start yet. On this slide, you can see our head count for where we are year to date. So it's from 2020 to 2024. And of course, this is around September 10th, as you can see the date on the slide of when we pulled these numbers. And the certified number, the final number I'll have in the December board meeting. So we're not there just yet. I'd like to note that looking at the year to date where we are today, or as of, I should say, September 10th, we've already surpassed the certified numbers for fall of 21 at 17,077, and fall of 22, if you recall, was 17,554. So, again, being a year-to-date report, we will have additional students enrolling with those late start terms that have not yet begun. And we're continuing to reach out to these students. I am confident, of course, trustees, that we will see an increase in our numbers. Okay, on this slide, you can see a breakdown by campus where we are again year-to-date. So, we have an increase in our in-person enrollment at the high schools, Rellis, and Schulenburg when compared to last fall. Of course, I'd like to thank Dr. Busicki and Mr. Anderson for all their support in our enrollment goals, and I do appreciate working with my colleagues. We're a great team. When you look at the high schools, I would like to note we have 5 additional agreements this year, so that brings us up to 58, which is a wonderful number, and 35 of the agreements have increased since last fall. So why is this happening? Well, trustees, thank you so much for getting Blinn involved in the FAST program. I will tell you that was a wonderful decision. Many families are very appreciative of our involvement with that process. When we look at the Schulenburg campus, you can see an increase there as well. We're offering courses in more of a cohort fashion, so clumped together in health sciences and business, and that's really helped increase the enrollment on that campus. I would like to note a little bit about the Bryan campus with all of you here this morning. I'm sure you've seen in the news, A&M did a study, multiple studies, on the amount of students that they've onboarded. The past 10 years, that campus in College Station has grown 33%. And of course, that directly impacts the Blinn-Bryan location because students are able to start their 4-year degree sooner than they probably thought they could have. And I say that to say over the next 5 years, they're meant to decrease the amount of students that they're onboarding in that location. That will positively, I'm confident, trustees, impact the Bryan campus for students coming back to us. I'd also like to note, if you've looked in the news, and I'm sure you all do, multiple 4-year colleges in the state are taking on their largest freshman class ever. So students are having more of an opportunity now to start their 4-year degree with the 4-year partners, and they're doing that. And that does affect us. It affects us directly. I'd also like to note, for the Bryan campus, we've made over 1,000 phone calls. We've contacted students who are with us spring of 23 and not 24. We ran National Student Clearinghouse data to see if they had enrolled anywhere else. We did have around 110 come back to us, and the remaining students, the majority of students, talked about life changes. We called them, we spoke with them, and they talked about having children, not having childcare, having to go to work, wasn't able to go to school, planned on transferring, but they just weren't able to. So we are continuing our outreach with those students. We don't leave them on the side. We keep reaching out, and we're here for them when they're ready. But we do continue that outreach with them. So I wanted to let you know that, rest assured, we don't let that stop. The other thing I'd like to note, we have an increase also on the Rellis campus. Those students are not coming from the Bryan location. They are directly starting at Rellis, because we looked up those students as well. So that increase are students that are applying to Blinn and starting at Rellis because that's where they want to go for their classes. All right, and my last slide for this part of this morning, as you can see, to date, our headcount numbers for fall of 24 are up when compared to fall of 20, 21, and 22. Our preliminary fall numbers have surpassed the certified numbers, as I mentioned earlier, for fall of 21 and fall of 22. And we have 4 parts of term that have not yet begun, and that makes up over 18% of our courses, and we're continuing to enroll students at this time. And I'll stand for any questions, please.
Questions?
Yes, sir. Mr. Krause.
Yeah, appreciate your report, appreciate your positiveness, and I know your staff is working overtime to beat the bushes. A couple of questions, though. Still, the Bryan enrollment is extremely discouraging and worrisome. Have you guys started thinking about moving some of the programs from Rellis to Bryan? We're spending a great deal of money on the Bryan campus to build this administration building. Maybe something like the team program or something like that, away from Rellis and over to the property that we actually own. So.
Sure, thank you for the question so much. No, that has not been part of our conversation. I know that those programs that are at the Rellis campus, they make up about 40% of the enrollment there. So the majority of the enrollment at Rellis is the 60% are students that are not related to those programs. Our focus is on getting students to come to Bryan for what we're offering there at this time.
Is there anything that you offer at Rellis that you don't offer on the Bryan campus besides the team programs?
I believe we have at the Bryan campus the architecture program, and Marcelo can correct me if I'm wrong on that. He says.
Marcelo, would you come to?
Yes, architecture and construction science are only offered in the Bryan campus. Yeah.
I would think those are pretty small programs. I mean, are there any at the Rellis campus that aren't offered at the Bryan campus?
The engineering programs are offered primarily at the Rellis campus. However, students might be able to take some of those classes in the Bryan campus also, but not designed as a full program.
Sounds like a program you might want to consider moving. So I'll let somebody else ask questions.
More or less two observations. One is that your slide that dealt with the parts of terms, it really reflects education post-COVID, where 62% is actually a 6-week session versus the 4 and 8 week session. So education is changing more in 100 years, in the past 5 years than it's been in the past 100 years. Another observation is that you're about 22 away from setting another enrollment mark in a 4-year period, so we need to find 220 students to hit the mark, I think.
Thank you so much.
Could you tell me, clarify for me again the difference between high school's number and the distance education? Is that? Can you tell me the difference?
Yes. So the students. Let me go back to that slide. Okay, so what this slide shows is the students' majority of their courses. So if they're dual credit, so they're a high school student, right, and they're taking classes usually at their high school, but they could be doing some online. Those count as a high school student. The distance education are students that are taking all online. Well, I shouldn't say all. The majority of their courses are online.
Okay.
Ms. Kettler.
I've got a question for you. I know we're just getting started in Waller now, and we've got a number of students taking our dual credit courses. Dr. McBride, when do we expect, what's our projection for those coming into our, out of dual credit into our core coursework that we would offer in Waller? Do we have any, will that take another year, do you think, before we move those students over, or what are your thoughts?
Thank you so much for the question. I think you're right, about a year or so I give it. We have over 200 students right now that are taking dual credit classes with us, and they're not going full-time with us, right? Some are taking just one course. So I would give it at least a year before we see a higher enrollment there. Thank you.
I do have a question. Of the 1,774 students, how many of those are from Burnham, Washington County?
I'm going to give you a ballpark number. Unless Layton has
you
a
can
better.
Respond to that.
Trustee Wells, we analyze every semester once we get our final numbers where the students come from each county. So we're still calculating that based on the students who are still registering. But traditionally speaking, we have less than 500 students from Washington County every district-wide, less than 500 students.
Just one more comment. I'm excited about Schulenburg, that we've got some more students there. And I would just, as we talked about in our workshop, if we just continue to focus on what we can do to bring more students in, that would be very much appreciated, and hopefully we can get some more at that campus. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
For Rellis, because I mean, that's exciting too, that that's gone up. Are a lot of, is the additional students, is that due to the partnerships with the other universities? Because I mean, it seems like A&M is really affecting the Bryan campus. So do we have people coming in for partnerships with SFA?
Yes, ma'am.
Et cetera?
Yes, the students know when they attend that campus, the goal is to partner, so they'll take classes with us and with the Alliance institutions, yes.
So that seems to be working.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Would there be a way for us to get a report on the number of students that are in these partner programs at Rellis?
Yes, sir.
It'd be nice to have.
I'll-
By college.
I'll also say that I attended a luncheon that Chancellor Sharp spoke at just recently, this week, or last week, in Brenham, and he ranted and raved about the Blinn programs at the Rellis campus. So that was really good to hear. So, any other questions? If not, we will move on to the housing report, and I think Dr. McBride, you're going to give that as well.
Well, good morning again, Dr. Hensley, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We're going to speak a few minutes here about housing and how things are going on the Brenham campus. As you can see on this slide, for fall of '24, our total leasable beds is at 1,764 students. And this lists, of course, the first half of our residence halls, and the next slide will have the second half. We are currently at 82% occupancy at this time. And here you have the second half of our residence halls and the number of students in each of those buildings. Okay, and when compared to last fall, we had a little under 2,000 beds, so 1,953 were the number of beds available. And of course, as I said, this fall is at 1,764. And the difference in the number of beds, if you recall, we had 4 older buildings that came offline. They were actually removed from campus this summer. A few of them hadn't been used since spring of '21. So we hadn't really needed those facilities for some time. But as you can see, we've maintained the 82% occupancy on campus. And the total number of beds that we took offline was 176 this summer, if that helps when you look at the calculations. And I'd also like to note that when you look back at Mill Creek and Prairie Lee Hall, they're in good financial shape. We have good occupancy in those facilities as well to meet the needs of our agreements there. And I will stand for any questions this morning.
I do have a question. It appeared that we lost about 200, roughly 200 beds from being leased. You would have thought maybe our percentage would have gone up. Any idea where those folks went?
Yes, we had around, I want to say 94, give or take, around 100 more returners last year. And if you recall in graduation, we had a higher number. We had 106 more students in May. We had a higher number in December, too, that completed. So we had a larger number of sophomores last year. And many of those students transitioned out to their next steps.
Any other questions, guys? I don't think so. Okay, Dr. McBride, thank you for the report. We will now move on to the consent agenda. All items listed in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Trustees and will be enacted upon one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a trustee so requests, in which event the item will be removed from consent and considered in discussion and possible action. Trustees receive agenda materials in advance of the meeting to prepare for the business to be conducted. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Trustee Ehlert?
Second.
Trustee Wells seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we will now move on to discussion and possible action items. The first item, adoption of a resolution for the 2024 tax rate. And I think, Dr. Burton, you're going to give us a presentation on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. This is a presentation about the 2024 tax rate. We'll give a general overview and then give tax rate options and history. The general overview. Keep in mind that the Board of Trustees has 2 areas where we can charge tax on property. The first one is maintenance and operation, which can only be used to operate the college, and then there's interest and sinking, which can only be used to pay bonds that were sold to improve the campus. The next area is when the assessor calculates data, there's two areas that are put together. The first one is the no new revenue rate. That's the amount of tax rate it would take to get the same amount of revenue from taxes that we had the prior year. The next area is the voter approved tax rate. That's the maximum that an entity can charge without going back for voter approval. Our calendar for our property tax is that on September 4th, the board proposed the tax rate. On September 16th, there was a public hearing, and today, at the board's regular meeting, the Board of Trustees will vote to adopt a tax rate. Just recapping, Blinn's revenues, 72% are from tuition, 26% are from state funding, and 2% are from property taxes. And so the tax rate options, we presented the board 4 options. The main one that the board is looking at or proposed was the 0.0422, which would generate $2.8 million in revenue, and that would for a $320,000 increase in revenues. Looking at Blinn's tax history, Blinn is pretty consistent at going with the no new revenue rate. Comparing Washington County with other entities, you can see that Blinn is the lowest and has been the lowest historically. Looking at Blinn's tax assessment compared to other community colleges in the state of Texas, Blinn is by far the lowest. And going through some tuition comments, in-district per credit hour is $64, out-of-district is $123, and the general fee is $80. Comparing an annual amount for in-district and out-of-district for a full-time student, you can see that an in-district student saves $2,100. That wraps it up, this presentation. The next step is that the board needs to adopt an amount. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions regarding the tax rate information? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the, what is the correct terminology?
Mr. Chairman, we're looking for a motion that the Board of Trustees approve and adopt a resolution to set a tax rate of 0.0421, which is above the no new revenue tax rate but below the voter approval tax rate. And Mr. Chairman, we would also ask for a roll call vote as well.
Okay. So I am looking for a motion to approve and adopt a resolution to set a tax rate of 0.0421, which is above the no new revenue tax rate but below the voter approval tax rate. So looking for a motion.
I move that we adopt the, what you just said.
Trustee Kettler makes the motion, looking for a second. Trustee Ehlert seconds. And we will need to do a roll call vote. Trustee Krausen.
I say yay. Yes.
Trustee Mosier.
Aye.
Trustee Wells. Trustee Benke.
Aye.
Trustee Ehlert.
Aye.
Trustee Kettler.
Aye.
And Trustee Kokorst, aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda will be the authorization for the administration to negotiate and execute a contract for engineering services and to seek proposals for construction manager at-risk services related to the central plant upgrades on the Blinn-Brenham campus. Dr. Burton, you're going to tell? I knew you were going to hand this one off.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Feldhake.
Good morning, Chairman Colhorst, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. I'm here as kind of a follow-up of some previous conversations that started this summer in regard to our central plant. as well as master plan projects. This agenda item 6B is a request that the board authorize administration to negotiate and execute a contract with Aspen Engineers for engineering services and to seek proposals for construction manager at risk services related to the central plant upgrades on the Blinn Brenham campus. The district-wide facility master plan phase 1 project indicated upgrades necessary at our central plant here on the Brenham campus. That includes, and that central plant is located at the Bullock building. That included necessary changes and upgrades to the chillers, pumps, reconfiguration of piping. The estimated cost for this project is $6.8 million. And the estimated schedule for the project, starting design this fall upon approval from the board for the engineer, would start this fall 2024, and we would anticipate completion of this project by the fall of 2026, getting all the chillers in and getting it up and running. At the June 18th board meeting, the board authorized administration to seek proposals from, or seek qualifications, I apologize, from engineers for these central plant upgrades. We received 19 responses. It was a phenomenal turnout, amazing engineering firms. The search committee reviewed those qualifications and narrowed the qualifications of those 19 engineers down to 3 engineering firms that we brought back for interviews. And based on those, and we conducted those interviews on August 15th. Based on the qualification statements and the interviews with the engineers, administration recommends that the board authorize administration to negotiate and execute a contract with Aspen Engineers. Additionally, we're requesting the board authorize administration to let us seek proposals from construction manager at risk services for these central plant upgrades. Upon the board approval, we will solicit a request for proposals, and in a similar process to the engineers, we will seek those proposals, interview those construction manager at risk, and then bring that back to the board at a future board meeting. Funds for this project, the $6.8 million, these are available from those unrestricted cash funds that Dr. Burton mentioned to you earlier today. And so with that, I will stand for any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
The usual question, have you worked with them before, Aspen Engineers?
Yes, we work with Aspen Engineers. The principal engineers at that company have actually done business with Blinn for many years. They actually helped us with Wheeler Hall years ago. So yes, Aspen Engineers is a firm we're experienced with.
Mark, this is my first time through this process, but when we select the design engineers, there is not a price or a estimated cost on what we spend on them. Could you explain to me how that works a little bit?
So state law does not allow us to select engineers, architects, design professionals based on price. We are to select them based on their qualifications, and then we negotiate a fair price with those engineers. It's not allowed under state law. The contractors is a different process. We are soliciting prices from contractors, but not design professionals.
Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion that the board authorize the administration to negotiate and execute a contract with Aspen Engineers for engineering services and to seek proposals for construction manager at risk services related to the central plant upgrades on the Blinn Brenham campus.
So moved.
Trustee Wells makes the motion. Trustee Binsky seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay, we now come to the executive session portion of our meeting in accordance with, we're going to be going into executive session in accordance with 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074. And it is 11 a.m. Do we want to take a 5-minute break? We'll take a 5-minute break before we go into executive.
That's all right. I do my best thinking after the motion's already been made. Yeah. Yeah, right. I think that's they got a stronger lobby than anybody else. That's the way that works.
Who makes those laws?
Yeah. I wanted to ask a question. All the facilities we have over there now, are we using like on the Bryan campus?
That's a big,
That we just built, but I mean, we may be able to put everything in that one building. But what do we, I mean, we don't do, I'm just wondering if we need to consolidate.
I understand. I really appreciate Rebecca asking that question. The other schools do not like Rice and Kingsville and Corpus.
No, they don't want to
They
do
do
it.
not want to be able to.
I think those guys are fighting too hard for their kids.
Yeah,
to
oh
go
yeah,
there.
absolutely. Yeah. I work with a lot of those schools and that's a sharp requirement. And I think that that may change.
Schwartz told me